Thank you for listening to the show on Really Big Something Channel. November 28th, 2017.
Political correctness run amok. Okay, my friends. You know, it's going to be up to us. There has to be a tipping point where we, the silent majority, in fact, the overwhelming majority, middle America, we have to take a stand, draw a line, and say here and no further. And what I'm hoping is that Holy Cross and the fight now over its name is going to be finally that line. I hope so, because there's a question now that is lingering over every institution in American society. And it's this: how far will political correctness go? When will it end? And I am telling you right now, it will only end when we say it ends. In other words, when we say enough is enough. And so what is now going on at Holy Cross is in many ways a microcosm of a larger battle taking place in the United States. And that is the forces of political correctness that want to destroy our culture, our heritage, our identity, everything that is authentically American, and replace it with essentially multicultural mush. Mush. Inoffensive, meaningless, globalist mush. And if you're not aware of the story, there is a huge controversy now raging at Holy Cross, a prominent Jesuit liberal arts college located in Worcester, the outskirts, in the area of Worcester. It's a Worcester college. And so the Board of Trustees have now just ended an 8-week commentary period in which they are now openly discussing, listen to this, whether to get rid of the college's century-old, it's been over a century, sports symbol, the name Crusader. They have a purple mascot, Iggy the Crusader, who wields a sword for their football games or lacrosse games or hockey games or whatever it is. And now the forces of liberal political correctness have deemed this, quote unquote, offensive. Offensive. That the term Crusader is offensive. They say in particular, because it evokes the Crusades of the Middle Ages, and so they say because the term could be offensive to Muslims or Muslim sensitivities, they now say the name must be changed, the name must go. And instead of saying, get lost, get a life, take a hike, the Board of Trustees is capitulating. And they have now asked for so-called input from both the alumni, which is very angry about this, and of course the student body. And many of these social justice warriors who now want to signal their virtue, virtue signaling, oh, I'm not racist, oh, I'm not Islamophobic, oh, I'm not offensive, they are now urging the school to drop the mascot and to drop the name Crusader or from all of their sports teams. In the name of tolerance and compassion and respect for diversity. In other words, feelings. It's all about the feelings. So listen to this. A 100-year-old tradition, a 100-year-old name. It's a great name. First of all, it's a Jesuit college. It's a Jesuit liberal arts college. In other words, it's a Catholic college. And they want to pay honor to many Jesuits missionaries who were in fact part of the Crusades or who died during the Crusades. But more than that, we're crusaders. We will defend the faith. We will defend our Christian identity and heritage. This is who we are. This is what we stand for. Now they want to get rid of that. Nobody had a problem for 100 years. No problem. World War I, no problem. World War II, no problem. 9/11, no problem. The war in Afghanistan, no problem. The war in Iraq, no problem. Never had a problem. Now suddenly, in 2017, there's a problem. And so, in the student newspaper, which is also called, by the way, the Crusader, so I guess they're going to have to get rid of the student newspaper name as well, because that's offensive. Two Holy Cross students, Donatella Guanciali, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Emma Powell, wrote this, quote, while some have no issues with the Crusader, many feel tension or take offense with it. Why would we not consider changing something that takes away from the experience of our community, even if it is just a single person who takes issue? We should want to spread the ability to love and appreciate our time at Holy Cross because of the people we are with, not because of the symbol we wear on our jerseys. Well, I want you to think about this logic. If it offends just one person, let's get rid of it. Let's get rid of it. If it offends just one. Now, by that logic, I'm telling you every name has to go. I mean, everything has to go. Because you will find any name. I don't just mean sports names. I mean any name. Harvard, some people find just the name, they find it offensive. I'm not kidding. Boston, people are going to find Boston. Massachusetts, some people find that offensive. They think that's cultural appropriation of Native American Indians. In other words, every name will be subject to constant change and revision because in this society of 330 million people, you're going to find one person who's going to take offense at freaking everything or at anything. So by that logic, we cannot have any names of anything because somebody, believe me, always takes offense. That to me is point number one. Point number two, and this is to me what is especially dangerous. And whatever you're doing now, please do me a favor. For the next 30 seconds, put whatever you're doing down. Because I want this fundamental thought to register with you. Those two students and countless others, the social justice warrior millennials, in about 20 years, they're going to be in power. Let me repeat that. This current generation of social justice warrior millennials, in 20 years, when they hit about their 40s, are going to be running this country. In other words, in many ways, running your lives. Now, I'm telling you that if we don't reverse this mentality, we're finished. You're finished. I'm finished. Brittany's finished. This country's finished. We're finished. We're finished. So this is not simply about the name of a mascot or the name of the of sports teams of a school or symbols or jerseys. This is about a all-prevalent mentality that somehow these students think, this generation thinks, that they have a right to live in a cocoon and to go through life never once being offended. That's impossible. This is the most coddled, entitled, spoiled generation in the history of humanity. I'm telling you this right now. Because every other generation, frankly, in every other country, understands, at about 4 or 5 years of age, some things are going to offend me in life. And that's what it is to live in a society. My uncle offends me. My aunt offends me. My cousins offend me, or some of them. My neighbors, my friends, whatever. The guy who owns the local grocery store, I think he's a jerk. Whatever. At about 5 or 6, you figure out, there's a lot of jerks in the world. That's just the way the world is. And I'm just going to have to learn to deal with it. They're not able to deal with it. Now, more importantly, what is wrong with the name Crusader? what I find incredible about this story is the Muslims are not even complaining about it. This is the thing about political correctness. It's not even as if there is one Muslim student on Holy Cross campus that said, "Oh, Abdullah, Allah, 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 Allah. I find the term crusader offensive. It's against Allah. It's against Islam. It's against Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him." Not one Muslim has complained. Not one. So what we're doing is we're changing symbols, names, identity, heritage, not even based on actual complaints, but on anticipating what we think could be offensive to somebody. Now, as for the Crusades themselves, and as to the term crusader, the Crusades, contrary to the lies in textbooks, to the lies of the mainstream media, who know nothing about history, the Crusades were begun by the Muslims. This is just a fact. Islam itself, that you understand, this is Encyclopedia Britannica, took over Arabia from the Christians and the Jews by the sword. They conquered land after land, tribe after tribe. They were not happy with simply conquering Arabia. They eventually took over Jerusalem. And then from Jerusalem, they invaded Europe. Spain fell. Portugal fell. Southern Italy fell. Half of France fell. Bulgaria fell. Romania fell. Greece fell. Albania fell. Serbia fell. Most of Croatia fell. They went all the way to the gates of Vienna. Their goal was to conquer Vienna and from Vienna then take Rome. Rome being the heart of the Roman Catholic Church, that would have meant essentially European Christendom would fall. And so what happened was that the Christian powers of Europe said, if we want to defend our faith, our civilization, and our heritage from these Muslim hordes and barbarians, we must ally ourselves and defend our homes, our countries, and our families. The Crusades were defensive, not offensive. They were defensive, and they were only partially successful. They were able to expel the Muslim invaders out of Europe, but not ultimately out of Jerusalem or most of the lands of the Middle East. Now, this is a fact. There's no debating this, none whatsoever. And so they are deliberately rewriting history to appease Islam and the Islamists. The Crusades were a noble attempt to defend Europe, the Middle East, and Christendom from Muslim invaders. Now, we used to know this because this used to be taught in our classrooms and in our schools. We no longer teach this. So if anybody has anything to apologize for the Crusades, it's the Muslims, not the Christians. And over 5 centuries, countless Christians gave their lives to keep Europe and the West free, ultimately from Muslim domination and occupation. You know why you have the freedoms that you have? Because Islam was defeated at the gates of Vienna. Because Islam was eventually pushed out of Europe. And by saving the West, that allowed for the Europeans to eventually come to the New World and create the United States of America. That these students think crusader is somehow an insult or a term, an epithet, to me shows how bankrupt our education system is today. There is nothing wrong with the term crusader. In fact, they should hold their jerseys and hold their mascot and hold their name with pride. And let me just say one final thing. And now I'm getting to the essence of immigration and some groups versus other groups that need to be said. You know, for 100 years, Jewish Americans have been across the United States, but, you know, here in the greater Boston area and in Massachusetts. You don't think they find the term, forget Crusader. If you got to get rid of the term Crusader, think of the actual term Holy Cross. Holy Cross, to many Jews, is potentially offensive. Holy Cross. It could potentially be insulting to both Jews and Muslims. Notice that the Jews never once demanded that Holy Cross change. Forget the term Crusader, but Holy Cross. By their very own logic, if you got to get rid of the term Crusader, then you also got to get rid of the name Holy Cross. And my question to the Board of Trustees is this: how far are you willing to go? Are you willing to sacrifice your very name to appease political correctness? So I've got a new name for you. It's no longer going to be the Holy Cross Crusaders. Try the Holy Cross Sissies, or better yet, the Holy Cross Appeasers. I don't want to offend anybody. So that I don't want Holy Cross to be called the Crusaders anymore, okay? No, please, I don't want, it may offend somebody. Okay, you've lost that loving feeling. I want to feel the love. 617-266-6868. The College of Holy Cross, a liberal arts college, a Jesuit college, is now debating whether to get rid of their century-old sports symbol, the Crusader, and even the purple mascot, Iggy the Crusader, out of concerns that the image of a Christian warrior might be offensive to Muslims. Now, the lines are blazing. I want to ask all of you, do you think Holy Cross should change its symbol or its name from the Crusaders, I guess, to the Capitulators, as one of the texters put it, or maybe the Sissies, or maybe the Wusses, or maybe the Appeasers? How about just losers? How about that? But anyway, Tommy Heinsohn, who I love, by the way, NBA Hall of Famer, former Celtics coach and player, great color commentator. He's an alumni. He's an alumni of Holy Cross, and he is red hot mad about this. Absolutely teed off. And so, as he put it, it's political correctness run amok. There'll be a hue and cry if they go through with this. The necessity of this thing is beyond the pale. Get a life. In other words, Tommy Heinsohn saying, it worked fine for 100 years. What's the problem? Andy, you're up next. Go ahead, Andy.
Hi, I'm a former graduate of Holy Cross, and some of the things you said I kind of agree with. Maybe we're in an extreme time. I just don't agree with having safe spaces and trigger warnings and all that. But I don't have a problem with the name change. I think it's a Christian school. It wants to be welcoming, and it wants to be, a place that's tolerant to all people. And, if Muslims are offended by the Crusades and they have a different perspective, obviously, then why not change the name? It's just a mascot. It's not a big deal.
Well, I mean, look, Andy, if they're offended by the Crusades, then they should be offended by the actual name. That's the point. Holy Cross.
What did the Crusades have to do with the Holy Cross?
Well, no, the name Holy Cross, right? The cross is holy. In other words, the cross is the only true cross. It's a holy cross. Muslims do not believe that. By the way, neither do Jews.
They may not believe it, but they may not. They obviously don't believe it. But I don't see why they would have a problem with the name. Whereas Crusader was actually this was an actual battle.
No, I know, but Holy Cross. No, I understand. But Andy, look, what Holy Cross is saying is this, because it's an explicitly Christian college, is that the cross is holy. Now, if you're Jewish, that's technically very offensive. Now, notice, the Jews never asked for Crusader to be taken out or for Holy Cross to change its name. Now, the Muslims, by the way, are not even asking this. That's the key. It's that students on campus who think that maybe Muslims are offended by this. That's why we should change the name. But let's get to the heart of the matter, okay, Andy? Let's not beat around the bush. Let's say a Muslim group was offended. So what? So what? The Crusades were noble. The Crusades were virtuous. The Crusades defended the West against a Muslim invasion. So why should we feel in any way defensive about it when that was a war of self-defense against Muslim aggression? If anybody should be defensive about it, it should be them, not Holy Cross. That's like, Andy, let me ask you this. What if Germans said, what if Germans said, we find the American flag offensive. We find the Union Jack offensive. Because we had a war in World War II, and we lost that war. And millions died in that war. So we want you to take that flag down because we find it offensive. I don't care if you find it offensive. That's life.
Yes, but that's the flag was created not to be a symbol of battle and destruction. The flag was created to be a symbol of our country. And if America is offensive to them, then they won't even come here. And
well, that's what I'm saying to the Muslims. If Holy Cross Crusader is offensive to you, then I'm sorry, but go back to wherever. Go back to Saudi Arabia. If it's that offensive to you. If you want to relive something that happened 1,000 years ago, which by the way, look, the question I would ask the Muslims is this. Why were you in Spain? Why were you in Portugal? Why were you in France? Why were you in Croatia? Why were you in Poland? Why were you in Vienna? So, did they not have a right to defend themselves? Or should they have all been conquered under the sword and the crescent of Islam? So, and Andy, this is the deeper point. Radical Islamists claim parts of Europe that were occupied by the Muslims, whether it be Osama bin Laden or ISIS or all of them. So, in other words, they're trying to impose their Islamist ideology upon us. The Crusades shouldn't bother them at all. It happened 1,000 years ago. It's part of our heritage, part of our culture. You don't like the West, there's the door. I don't want to change Islam. Why do they want to change us?
I don't think in this case anyone wants to change us in any way. I think that it would just be a more welcoming place where there's diversity on campus, and everyone that went there would feel more comfortable. If they changed from the Crusaders to something else. It's just a symbol. It's just a symbol of the sports team with false bravado in most names.
Yeah, but I can say that about anything. Look, Andy, honestly, nobody's really offended. That's the point. They're just pretending to be offended, but thanks for the call. Okay, my friends, we're going to continue with your call, 617-266-6868. Should Holy Cross change its name from Crusaders to, appeasers? We're going to continue, but first, will lawmakers pass tax reform? President Trump will be meeting with lawmakers this afternoon. Stay with us. Evan Heidenrich has the latest in the newsroom. I got it. I got the new name for Holy Cross. It should be the Holy Cross Snowflakes. Not the Crusaders, but the Snowflakes. 617-266-6868. Okay. The Board of Trustees at Holy Cross, really once a great Jesuit liberal arts college. It's a Catholic college, at least in theory. Now the snowflakes on campus, the social justice warriors, say that it could hurt somebody's feelings.
This is stupid!
And so in the name of tolerance and compassion and respect for diversity, they now want to change the term Crusader, get rid of the Iggy the Crusader mascot, even the coat of arms, the beautiful shield, which is the Crusader coat of arms. They say, well, this goes back to the 11th century when the brutal wars between Muslims and Christians, and somebody on campus may find this offensive. Well, too bad. I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. Too bad. Holy Cross, believe me, that cross is offensive to a lot of Muslims. In fact, there's so many of them that ISIS and Islamic terrorists have been slaughtering Christians all over the Middle East at a record level, a genocide over the last 10 years. So, guys, just get rid of the whole name. Forget Crusader. Just get rid of all of it. 617-266-6868. John in Groveland, you're up first. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Jeff. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Did the previous call Andy say he went to Holy Cross?
Yes.
I cannot believe that guy would say that. An alumnus of that college would say, it's no big deal. Jeff, this is what's wrong with this country today that was founded on Judeo-Christian values hundreds of years ago. It's the colleges and universities have been infiltrated by the professors that are teaching our children. They're all leftist, progressive Marxists who hate America, who hate the history of America. First, it's Holy Cross Crusaders. Change the name. No big deal, Jeff. Next, it'll be Christmas. We'll call it the Festival of Lights or the Festival of Trees. Jeff, enough is enough. This is ridiculous. These snowflakes in their little triggered spaces, get over it. The Crusaders, as you said, Jeff, tell somebody to pick up a book. The Muslims attacked the Christians in Europe. The Crusaders were defending themselves, Jeff. You were 100% right. But these people in academia don't even know their own history. It's a joke, Jeff. It's disgusting. If I was an alumnus of that school, I'd be calling and ringing the phones off the hook, telling them I'd never give them another penny to that school. It's absolutely disgusting that they want to change the name because one person's offended.
John, look, you hit the nail on the head. And look what's going on, okay? Just objectively. Why are we always prostrating ourselves? I'm just going to use Islam now, but political correctness, there's feminism, there's the LGBTQ lobby. I mean, there's many groups, okay? But right now, because they're saying no Muslim has come out, but the students are saying Muslims or some may be offended, okay? So let's just assume one Muslim has been offended, just for the sake of argument. Why are we prostrating ourselves to the demands of Muslims or Islam? I mean, I'm sorry. You've come to America. You go to Holy Cross. It's a Catholic college. It's a Christian liberal arts college. You don't like it? Go somewhere else. You don't like America because we're still a Judeo-Christian country? Go somewhere else. You see, they always want us to change, but they never ask Islam to change. For example, in Saudi Arabia, I mentioned that in my back and forth with Andy. Bibles are banned, and literally, they're banned in Saudi Arabia. Churches are banned. If you convert to Christianity from Islam, you're killed. You're hung. Now, what the liberal snowflakes refuse to recognize, these are historical facts. Muhammad was a warrior. He was also a polygamist. He had multiple wives. He had child brides, some of them as young as 12. He slaughtered his enemy. In fact, he annihilated an entire Jewish tribe, men, women, and children. And he said it was justified by the Quran. So and by the way, the way they massacred most of them was actually through beheadings. So when these Islamists are butchering men, women, and children, and they're beheading them, what they're saying is we are following in the footsteps of the Prophet Muhammad himself. Now, that's just a fact. There's nothing to debate here. That's a fact. Muhammad conquered all of Arabia, or his followers did, his successors, through the sword, through violence, through religious and ethnic cleansing. The big prize was Jerusalem. Then Richard the Lionheart, which is why he's considered one of the greatest kings in British history, went and fought off Saladin, the great Muslim warrior, and saved Jerusalem for a while. And then it eventually fell. But because Islam believes, doesn't matter if it's Sunni or Shia, that the whole world must eventually become part of the caliphate, a world Muslim empire, they said Europe is the big challenge. And so for centuries, they poured across into Europe and invaded European lands, European countries, and slaughtered Europeans. And so the Crusaders, by the way, that's when they developed just war theory. So if you want to know the whole history of this. And so as they were defending themselves as Christians, they said, how do we defend ourselves but still follow the teachings of Jesus? In other words, to engage in violence, but not to violate the sacred commandments or the teachings of Christ. So they came up with just war theory. And what was this? You can kill on the military battlefield in self-defense, but you can never kill women and children or civilians. That's considered immoral. So, my ancestors, which is why I know all this, Kuhner is German for the brave. My ancestors originally came from Germany. When the Crusaders poured into Europe, and they were going straight for Vienna, German families, my family included, the brave, settled in Croatia, which was then on the front line of the Crusades. Croatia, in fact, was known as Antimurales Christianitatis, the ramparts of Christendom. The ramparts, the bulwark. And for hundreds of years, they fought off the Ottoman Turks. Now, these Christian knights, these crusaders, were the most noble of soldiers and warriors. And they saved all of Europe and the West, Western civilization, from Islamic domination. In fact, to this day, if you want to understand why the Muslims find it offensive, whenever let's say the war in Iraq or Afghanistan or whatever, they always refer to us as the Crusaders. So they go back 1,000 years. Why? Because that was their great shot at world domination. That was their shot at establishing a global empire, a Muslim global empire. And they lost. And so for them, they want to relitigate or refight that 500-year battle that they eventually lost. The term crusader is in fact a noble term. It's a great term. These were people who were heroes. They were heroic, noble warriors. Can I be honest with you? Holy Cross should be immensely proud of the term crusader. And the way they're acting now, I don't think they deserve to have the name. Where's your courage? Where's your bravery? Where's your nobility? Where's your principle? And so, how come Islam never has to cater to us, but we always have to cater to Islam? To the point is, they won't even let you freaking worship in a Muslim country. But they can come here and change our names, our symbols, our identity, our very history. You come to America, you become an American. I believe in this phrase to my very core. Love it or leave it. If you don't love it, get lost. And if you're offended by it, then to me, you don't deserve to be in America. Because what it shows to me is you want to refight the wars of aggression that you waged 1,000 years ago. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But then you're not welcome in America. Either you assimilate and become an American first, or if you want to be a Muslim first, no problem. There's always Saudi Arabia. Bruce in Woburn. Go ahead, Bruce.
I want to give a big moonbat howl to all these moronic moonbats out there that really are trying to change our way of life. And you just covered it perfectly, Jeff. What's disturbing to me is the beheadings, the bombings, the mass shootings. Look what happened in that mosque. They killed their own. These are animals. I'm not changing. And if Holy Cross changes, they're just going down the wrong road, Jeff. The wrong road.
Bruce, look, I'm with you. And, you know, there's a very famous saying in history. Those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. We have forgotten our history. We have forgotten the centuries and centuries of Muslim invasion and Muslim aggression and Muslim conquest, Islamic conquest. What is happening today? It's nothing new. It is nothing new. It is the old holy war again. That's all this is. And you think by capitulating that they respect us? In fact, if anything, they hold us in contempt. Trust me, I know. 617-266-6868. Tom in New Jersey. Go ahead, Tom.
Jeff Kuhner, God bless you. You are the man of courage, Jeff.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
2 points. First on Elizabeth Warren, real quick, Jeff, and then to the unholy cowards at Holy Cross. Elizabeth Warren should be Chief Wild Eagle, Jeff, because you and I remember the old show F Troop. Remember the fake Hakawi Indians on F Troop? She could be Chief Wild Eagle because she's another fake Indian. But now to my more serious point. Jeff, we're facing a push on Christianity that could be the end of Christianity. These cowards, these unholy cowards at Holy Cross should be ashamed of themselves. You did a beautiful dissertation on what the Crusades was all about, Jeff. Please do that as often as possible. It's so needed in this world of cultural cleansing and revisionist history. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. Larry in Belmont. Go ahead, Larry.
Jeff, hi. I'm Larry, and I'm constantly offended by everything. Listen, I got a few points I'd like to make really quick. I went to BC. I graduated, I'm an Eagle, but that is a Jesuit school as well. It's full of symbols of Christianity. That's coming next. They're going to keep going. There's no reason why these Muslims want to go to these schools for the education. They want to go over, just like you said, take over and destroy it from within. How about with fire? Why don't we go after the one word that is the epitome of slavery and racism, and demand it be removed? That's the Democrat. That word is symbolic with everything that is racist and slave-oriented in this country. Why aren't we fighting back?
Larry, look, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think we're going to have to start doing that. Look, I believe in freedom. You know me. Okay, I'm a constitutionalist. I'm a libertarian. I'm a Jeffersonian liberal. At my heart, that's what I am. So, to me, I really believe in let 1,000 flowers bloom. This is America. Live and let live. I really do believe that. So I don't like these snowflakes. I don't like people who complain. I don't like them constantly protesting, constantly being offended. Their safe spaces, the microaggressions. But I think you have to turn maybe the guns of the left on the left. And maybe we should say, okay, two can play at this game. You know, to me, the Democratic Party is a very deeply offensive name. You guys were the party of slavery, the party of secession, the party of Jim Crow, and now the party of abortion. So, you know what? I find it extremely offensive. Change your name. And I can do this. By the way, Islam. Here, you want to go for the ultimate, for the jugular? Here it is. I am offended by Islam. I am profoundly offended. Not for what they preach, which I do. I think it's disgusting. And and their long history of crimes and mass murder and genocide. The name itself literally means submission. Submission. That's what Islam means. I find that extremely offensive. Change your name. Let's not talk about Crusader or Holy Cross or any other name. You don't change Islam, we have nothing to talk about because your very name is offensive. And then once we get beyond that, I want you to change your holy book. Because I look at Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, as they say, and his record of crimes, and his religious and ethnic cleansing, and his engagement in mass murder, and his multiple wives and polygamy, and his acts of child molestation and pedophilia. Okay? Child brides. To me, there's nothing more sickening than that. No, I'm sorry. Either you change, then when you change, then we'll talk about us changing. That's what I would do. I would just say, no, I'm sorry. You're a Muslim? You practice Islam? Yeah, not change the name. Why? I find it offensive. Submission. Why should I submit? It's offensive. It's modern day slavery. 617-266 6868. In other words, blank me, no, blank you. 156 here on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. And I'm in a crusading kind of a mood. Steve in Bedford. Go ahead, Steve.
Jeff, how you doing? Long-time listener. Love the show, man.
Thank you very much, Steve. What's on your mind, my friend?
Hey, call me crazy, but what would a bunch of Muslims want to go to a Catholic school anyway, you know?
I mean, Steve, honestly, touche.
You know, it just seems like a simple question, and all this craziness could be avoided with just a simple, like, a gesture of them not going to that school.
No, I mean, Steve, you nailed it. You're right. It's so simple, but it's like a dagger. It's so effective. No, really, it's a liberal arts college. It's a Jesuit, Catholic, Christian school. If I'm a Muslim, why do I want to go? You know, it's like, I don't know. I love the Jews. You know that. I'm a big Semitophile, as they would say. But, it's like me going to, I don't know, a Jewish school. Like, okay. And then me saying, well, no, you're Jewish. I hate it that you're Jewish. Take down the Star of David. Take down everything. Well, why would you go? Or whatever. I could run down a list. It's obvious. It's a Christian college. You like it? Great. You don't like it? Believe me, there's a lot of other colleges in Massachusetts and in America. Really, it's just that simple. Steve in Beverly. Go ahead, Steve.
Long time, first time.
Welcome,
Steve.
Steve.
Taking my call.
Go ahead, Steve.
This is all. I blame all of this on Obama. Remember when Michelle Obama said Barack knows we got to change our tradition, our history, and blah blah, all that nonsense. You are right. The Democratic Party offends me too. This whole nonsense of I'm a Catholic, okay? Now, what are we going to do when a Muslim gets offended with the 9/11 monuments? We're going to tear them down too now?
Well, even worse than that, Steve. What if he's offended with the church?
Yeah, sure.
What if he's
why
offended
not?
with the crucifix or the Holy Communion or the Bible? Or I could go on. Really, how far you want to take this?
Right earlier, you can take any word and twist it, any name and twist it. This country is in a cyclical funk, and I'm hoping we will come out of this political correctness at some point. Think about how many names in this country, sports teams, high school, college, are named Crusaders. Are they going to change them all?
Well, Glenn, how about Patriots? New England Patriots.
The British should be offended by that name.
Ooh, how about the New England Revolution, the soccer team? Ooh, Glenn, that's got to go too, my friend.
It's ridiculous. My favorite football team is the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Oh.
Are the Irish offended by that little green guy with his fist of fury?
Glenn, you see what I'm saying? A lot of names to change, my friends. A lot of names. Okay, coming up next. Should women stop taking men's last names when they get married? That debate, it's a growing trend. Next.
The voice of Boston is you. 680 WRKO Boston, 93.7 WEEI HD2 Lawrence, Boston. It's 2 o'clock.